You have tuned into Breaking the Mask of Depression with your host, Diva with Depression.
Hey guys, welcome to Breaking the Mask of Depression with me, the Diva with Depression. I hope you all are doing well today. It's summertime today, I think, and something is retrograding, so shit's just been going left and right, and we're all upside down, but I hope we're all doing well. You guys hear me talk all the time about working at Hell. I don't even say the name of the company. That was my last place of work, but a couple of things came out of working in Hell. One is my beautiful children, and two was I made some great friendships along the way. So today I have one of my dearest friends here to talk to us about mental health, because of course you guys know that this is the series for June being men's health awareness, not just mental health, but men's health awareness month. And so I've been fishing around and talking to my friends and family and trying to get some guys on. And I am so fortunate that one of my friends decided to come on. So let's get with it. Now, I have so many nicknames for you over the years. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me on the show, Miss Dee Dee. Percy Jackson, or that's my mama named me. So me and you, we got decades, man. It's just like the late 80s. You know, from New York to North Carolina to above and beyond. Right?
Exactly. I started working there in '88, and you were one of my first friends.
Yeah, I think I started the same year too. Yeah.
Yep. So and we had a good time while it lasted. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on. I know that this is not a discussion that we have had throughout the 20 or so years that I've known you, but in the last couple, I want to say year or so since I've started sharing, you have been more open with me, which I appreciate because it gives me insight. And so, Percy, tell us what you do, who you are, where you're at.
Look at this silly picture I got going on. I'm not talking to God. Oh, you made it. But it's Percy Jackson. I'm an IT engineer. Live in Atlanta, Georgia. Used to live in Charlotte for a good long time. I moved out of there where I got divorced, and you used to live in New York prior to that, and where me and Dee Dee worked together. And and the whole thing chronicles the evolution. Because I had so many different things going on, which kind of correlates to the questions that we had. Because I was probably maybe like 21 when I was there, and you go through your 30s, and I left out, it was probably about 33. I don't know, it was 96, I think it was. And then I started consulting, and then I started doing other stuff in IT, working for a lot of great companies. Like I used to say, some were great and some were pretty good, but I've definitely benefited from the experience and the relationships that have been gained from there. But I'm a simple dude, and and I try to be as transparent with everything in life, as I possibly can. I might be a blessing to somebody.
You are.
Oh, hush.
That goes without saying that you are a blessing to me, at least. You grew up in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn. You grew up what? Uptown?
Uptown, baby. We get down, right?
Baby. And do you have any siblings?
No, only child.
Oh wow! So you got a whole lot going on. That's a whole nother show about being the only child. We can go on and on. I always talk about being the only girl. Then I have friends that are the only child. So that's another Oprah show. So the one thing that I always ask everybody is, what is your definition of a mental illness?
I was tempted to Google the medical definition, but I'm going to say when you're out of balance.
Okay.
And then that's a broad thing. And before you put it right there next to you need Jesus, you're out of balance. And that has a lot of different places. I mean, like, number one, you're a human being. Number two, you happen to be a woman, and you be a
Right.
Black woman, however way you want to put it, and you're somebody's sister and you're somebody's mother. You have all these different personalities, and so there's a lot of, and I learned this word just 2 years ago, code switching that goes on,
Yes.
And so, when we're in the presence of, our white brothers and sisters, sometimes, we truncate our words and talk a little more clarity, diction, or, maybe tone down some of the words that we use in mixed company. So you got that, but, as a mother, you have to suppress certain parts of your personality. As an employee, you have to suppress certain parts of your personality. When you're with your moms and you're somebody's daughter or your pops, so you have a lot of that stuff. And some people do that well. And you do that based on the feedback you're getting from other people.
Exactly.
So, you kind of like, yeah, okay. And then that may not be your normal.
Right.
And so that puts on a lot of stress, because that's why we have pretty much the highest, PTSD, I'm thinking. Because, we gotta, having a discussion with a good friend talking about spousal abuse, right? Of course, the media, focuses in on women getting beat, men beating on women, because that sells and it gets attention. But there are a lot of men that don't get to, that won't, put in a report because they're gonna get teased by the cops, and
Exactly.
teased by the friends. And if the cops come over, cops hate domestic squabbles. There's a
Exactly.
chance that you can get shot in your own house. Because, and it just turn into something ugly, because nobody is going to give a man the grace, like, okay, well, you know what? Not only did she say mean shit about my mom, she threw the cat at me. So, wow. And, that is something that stresses you out. And this is what I mean. So you gotta walk that tightrope. And then sometimes, that gets too much for a lot of people to handle.
Right.
And sometimes we don't call it, we laugh it off, because there's a stigma for mental health in our community. We and not just Black folks, our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and Latin and all this other good stuff. It's like, oh no, because we kept it silent. And that would lead you to be seen as crazy, say, don't fuck with him, he's crazy, and not the good crazy, like, yo, wow, he punched the cop in the face.
No.
Wow. No, it's like, yo, put a net over him type deal, and nobody wants that. And then that can be used against you. Somebody say, oh, you crazy, bitch, or whatever. And yeah, so it's a whole lot of, I don't, so you fight through it, and sometimes you pop.
Right.
And and I had a couple of incidents like that.
I always say, well, number one, the breaking the mask and behind the mask, that's been my platform from the beginning, because we as Black and brown people, I mean, we've got layers of masks. Like you said, you gotta be the corporate person, you gotta be this person. And the second thing is that we've got 400 plus years of PTSD.
Yeah.
We sit here and we watch our brothers and sisters being murdered on the news, like on the 5 o'clock news. How do you sit with that? So it's constant. And of course, Black women have their own plight, but Black men have it just as hard, if not harder, because like you said, they're seen in a different eye. Women are safer to the others. Black men are threat to the others. So
soft power versus hard power. Yeah.
Right. And it does. I like what you said about the balance. That's what you're calling it. The balance is off. So you are one of the peppiest people that I know. I mean, from day one, I used to get in trouble because when I used to come up to bring the work to you, I'd be gone for like 45 minutes to an hour. And it's like, it did not take you 45 minutes to drop the work off. And your personality is amazing. And you're so peppy that from the outside looking in, I would have never suspected that you struggled with mental illness at different stages. So what age do you think the imbalances popped up? What are the symptoms? What was it?
I think it was during our time at TIA Craft, because, I was always into music, right?
Right.
So, you learn a lot about yourself as you meet people, you go in different phases of your life and whatever. That was a very structured insurance company. It was very
Yeah.
gray, vanilla type thing happening there. And so, you were encouraged to mute your personality, whatever. But also, once I left out there, I was working recording studios, chasing that music dream, and it's around a whole lot of entertainers in that type of environment. But see, I'm somewhat of a paradox. My personality is what it is. You're seeing who I am, you know this.
Right.
But also, I don't like crowds. I don't go to clubs. I don't do any of that stuff. I want to be like how, when we hooked up in Greenville. That's
Right.
my thing. These are people who I don't have to apologize for saying crazy stuff. They know the jokes. I have my insights. You can be yourself, your unbiased, unfiltered self.
Right.
Now, I would often say stuff to get myself in trouble, as you can probably figure out, when I was working in that environment. And that that's been a common thread in my career. So that was my own self-destructive behavior. Also, I've had the luxury of being, involved deeply in the entertainment field. And that, as I got more immersed into it, I didn't want to be a part of that because
Right.
it's nothing like what you think it is, and whatever. So, and I knew I couldn't feed a family doing it.
Right.
So, it's where it's like, you kind of feel like, like a cat that was raised by dogs, or something like that. It's like, wow, I'm faster than him. I can scratch. I wonder, but I'm here eating Alpo. What the hell is this? So you kind of trying to figure that out. But the balance part, it's like, we know this from homeless people. Like, sometimes you can talk to them, and when they're on the medication, or sometimes you catch them, they're real people, and they have perspectives, they have ideas, concepts, and you're like, wow, this is a human being, dude. How did this happen to you? Well, this is what happened. And it's always a tragic story. And then let's say maybe you might see that same person in another place. He's talking himself, blah, 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 and he's chasing people with whatever, and it's what happened. And then I think that we all have the capacity to be that dude.
Exactly.
And that's something. I mean, like, when I went through my divorce, you said, how do I find out? Because, I enjoy having a good time being silly, and stuff like so, and that helps me pass the time. It helps me develop a rapport with most people. And, and that's how I get over some of my anxieties and stuff like that. So now people are more at ease, I'm more at ease. And now the relationship, I feel, is working towards my advantage because now I'm more comfortable with this person because I'm seeing who they are. I'm a very distrustful person as a lover. So maybe that's living in New York. Might be a high level for other people. It might be the standard operating procedures for a New Yorker. But happened like when you went through your divorce, like maybe we can compare notes. I mean, you feel like a failure.
Yes.
Social media. It's like because now people is like, oh, he went from married to single. And then it's like, okay, but did he not keep his dick in his pants? Did he lose his job too many times? And all those things. So that gets conflated with your value as a human being, your value as a man, your value as a provider, father, all types of stuff. So that weighs down on you. And then, and I'm the best of friends with my ex-wife. She's one of my best friends ever. I couldn't ask for a better mother for my daughter, until I said that. But she's an awesome chick backwards and forwards. She's always been that margin I can always look to that, that's the way it's supposed to be. And during that time, when I became persona non grata, I got a job at Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we've been on a government contract, so we were building the company from the ground up, and I thought it looked great on my resume. So I did that, right? So then, ex-wife said, get your shit out. And I said, all right, cool, give me a minute. Just start this job. Let me stack my chips. And it was like God was smiling on me because I was in your daughter's town, Jacksonville, Monday morning, back home on Friday. So I was out of her here. Yeah, so God was like, I got you. And so what happens is we had part of the job took me to Wisconsin for 21 days straight. We was building the data center. And then my boss at the time, real cool dude, we're still friends this day. We was having a good time. We was just drinking and eating, just after day's work. And then he said, well, first, how's your family? And then I got happy and I burst into tears. I was like, oh, yeah. Wow. And then some and it was like that, you remember your mom's beat you with the real belt, it was, I couldn't get my shit together. I was like, how the fuck did this happen? And then, I was like, trying to, you dealing with that overwhelming, whatever, all those different emotions coming at you, fighting to get the attention it thinks it deserves. And then, it took me about maybe 10 minutes, and I said, dude, I'm sorry, it's the voice, I get it, and he was cool. So we talked about it the next day, and then at that point, I just really start paying more and more attention to what's going on in my head. Now, we didn't get that job. By the time I got the balls to say I need therapy, couldn't keep a job. So I was still fighting, trying to get out of the hole that was pulling me down.
Right.
So it's like I couldn't get I don't think Obamacare. Yeah, I might have Obamacare, but whatever it is. I was traveling all the time. I couldn't stay in the job because my head was always in a bad place. And it was just, and then it was one time I was like, this is the worst thing ever happened. I was interviewing at this spot. It was a consulting gig, and like halfway through the gig, I had to take a security badge ID, and I saw my picture. I went down to, it's about 205 pounds now. I went down about 178 pounds. I looked like a crackhead. I was like, because, getting out of bed was hard, real hard.
Right.
Food didn't taste the same. I wasn't interested, and all I could do, and I called it hitting the fast forward button. I would try to, I was so tired, and I would spend most of the day sleeping. And that was just hoping that I could have enough energy to go pick up my daughter on Friday and act like everything was all right, because that shit was exhausting.
Yeah.
So it was one time, like, I think this is one of my buddies at Microsoft called me up. I had an interview, and then it happened to be one of the buddies I worked with Microsoft. And he said, dude, you got the job. Don't worry about it. Cool. And I just bought it, was trying to pay down my debt and everything. So I just bought like a 2002 X5. It wasn't expensive. So, I mean, it's not like, why did you save money buying a fucking German expensive luxury vehicle, you asshole? But it was a problem. Probably after the first 1-2 months I had it, every weekend, at least seemed like it was 1 month, something just $1,000 worth of damage happened. So I was making better money, and I was at a permanent gig at the time. So I just couldn't spend $1,000 every week on this car. And so, like, what happens, it's the last time this thing died. There's this big mechanical Kentucky Fried Chicken somewhere in Marietta. You've probably seen pictures of it. I'll send you a picture, whatever. Yeah, I was waiting at light. I just burst into tears. And then my daughter, she had her headphones on. She had a little, it was still iPad, Apple Surface, whatever. That's a little thing that I touch, whatever that thing is. And, she was in her music, and then I was like, and then I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm trying to get my shit together. I'm like, because like, I was always fearful that my ex would just pack up and just take this little girl and go somewhere else. That was a burden. I was worried about not fucking up this new job I got and all this stuff we talked about earlier with the social media. So all of that, and it's like, wow. And then, it ties into like, the question number 7, do you think there's a stigma for shaming where men are concerned? Oh, hell fucking yeah.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of your color, and so, like, I can't let this little girl see me cry, because that's going to stress her out, and I was worried about all these things. And I was like, and I can't talk to my buddies, you can talk about some things, but nobody want to hear you bitch.
Yeah.
That's just it. Well, I mean, women don't even want to hear other women bitch. The last thing you want is a man, talking about, like, oh, these, I might have to buy some easy spirits, these, my feet hurt so bad, or either, like I saw it. So, you have that, and that's why I chose balance, because you're juggling your personality, you're managing that threshold, how much you can expose, how much you can say, how you should respond and react to a story. Today, like, I'm in the process of a building. So, like, I stayed at the new building a little bit too long, so it's probably about maybe 10 after 6. My badge now doesn't work on the building that I've been working all day. So I'm like, So then, like, like, I go around to the other side, and then one of my coworkers, comes in like, hey, thank you. And there's another person behind him. Both of these people happen to be white. So, like, I spoke to the guy, David. Hey, what's up there? And the other person is like, yeah, and who are you?
What?
Okay, yeah, and that was it. But of course, I'm one of two black people in it.
Right.
Actually, there's another black, yeah, and some Caribbean folks in it as well too. But you know, people you can look at and say, ah, nigga. So what happens is, but then I said, dude, I said, I'm Percy. Who you? He said, oh, I'm Joe, blah, blah, blah. And he was cool about it, but now I'm a little annoyed like I used to.
Feeling away.
Yeah. And but then I say, you know, playing back in my head, it's two black males in that company. Okay. Males are considered threats. Okay. He's obviously never seen me before. So at that point, I'm giving myself reasons to show grace.
Right.
That's stressful because I got to talk myself off the list. I got to police myself. And so that's a layer of pressure. And then after that, oh yeah, we've talked before. Yeah, yeah, cool. but then I said, wait a minute, the guy has a point. You know, he's never seen me before. And I would do the same thing too. So I had to reset myself. And then that's exhausting. See, they don't have to tell their kids what to do when the cops stop.
No.
And stuff like that. Yeah, and just look at your beautiful locks out there in California. You can get fired for having locks or natural hair or something like that. So it's a whole lot of stuff that just feels so out of balance. It's like when you find yourself teetering like, yo, I'm about to lose it, you know, and that could be anything with anyone, you know. So it's just one of the things where it's like, yo, hold on, I do this shit at my job, I do this shit in the supermarket, I do this shit in the gym. I ain't doing here, but you know, or either just pop, and then you know, you're anxious or anxiety kicks in. Or
So that was that. I mean, that was part of the question about situational, environmental. One thing that I always discuss is genetics. Is there anybody in your family that you have recognized that is dealing with it? And that's from generation to generation on both sides. I can tell you that it's a long line.
yeah,
So do you think that there are genetics involved in cahoots with the situational or environmental?
yeah, of course, yeah. I'm giving emphatic, uninformed yes. It's because you know, like you know, we didn't have the luxury of seeing psychiatrists like that. But you had to have money or you have a really good plan, you know, with our parents and before them, before civil rights and stuff like this. There's a lot of stuff we just had to deal with. And then, of course, that only feeds into the stigma. And it's like, okay, well, if I need help, so we got a whole lot of undiagnosed psychoses being handed down generation to generation. And another thing is like we were talking about lowering the bar on mediocrity. We don't have an interest in these things. You know, we'll talk shit about bacon all day, you know, and talk about rubbing crystals and the moon being on retrograde. But yo, this mental illness shit is official, you know, because you don't know when you're gonna pop. You don't know what your trigger is because we put on that facade of fitting in, of doing what's necessary, acting the way. Because you know how many times, and this is I try to be, you know, the person I am. It's because how many people, you know, all of a sudden, like how you said, you know, like, damn, you know, I didn't know you was into that. Because, you know, think about how we were socialized in like elementary school.
Right.
You know, like, hey, teacher, your teacher, and your arm would be swollen because, you know, you want to show what you studied hard for. But then as you get junior high school, start hanging with the cool kids, the hand don't go up as much. And then it's less cool to be smart. You know, so those are things you feel. So it's a lot of stuff that's, you know, that we should naturally evolve into living in a civilized society. But at the same time, it's like a lot of things are who we are. I mean, think of how many gay friends we got. I mean, like, you know, their stories break my heart. Or how some of them, you know, they had to act butch, you know, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, and then, you know, somebody said this to my dad, threw me out the house. I live on the streets. But, you know, it's ugly stories. So it's so much stuff that we have to suppress to be naturally all who we are. For external validations, then compounded by what we may already have genetically, or actually, you know, undiagnosed psychosis we dealing with. It's a whole lot of things, but we rather, you know, blame it on the zodiac, the position of the moon, or bacon, you know, and it's like, this is, you know, we got to do the work, you know.
Yeah. But I was telling you that the last episode I interviewed my brothers, and some of the symptoms that I mean, there were things that I recognized in them growing up, but they discussed some of the symptoms that they had and how it showed up. But they also shared about how they weren't confident enough or found anybody to talk to.
Right.
And it's only now that, you know, the men in my family will come forward to discuss, you know, different periods of depression.
Right.
Did you have that male figure in your life that you could go to?
You
And it could
know,
have been, you know, dad, uncle, you know.
no, you know my best friend, Daryl, man. You know, me and him, we got stories. You know,
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, if there was a movie, I mean, there's some stories, but you know, like we spent a lot of time on the road because you know we, you know, had the music thing going on,
Right.
and I've known him all my life. You know, probably single digit years. You know, because he always lived 4 blocks away from me, and
Mhm.
you know, and we've always talked about change. You know, so and that's all we ever talk about. Say, hey, this is, and then you know, and you're honest because when you have somebody you trust who, you know, it's like, yeah, and then you care about them and you feel that reciprocal energy coming back, you know, then it's easy for you to say, yo, this is what's up, this was something I had, blah, blah. And then what adds value is when somebody say, Dee, no, that's a bad idea. That's stupid. No, don't wear that. You go, you know, gonna get laughed at. And because you know, you need somebody to say, yo, shoot his man. Your breath is crazy. You know, and even if it hurts him, because you know it's coming from a place that is straight up love. You know, where I need you to do better. I don't care how you feel. Yeah, your feelings hurt, but yo, you chew this, you know, you don't chew this gum, all them girls gonna scream at you, gonna be known as, you know, the human torch, you
Right.
know, something like that.
Right.
Your breath is crazy, you know, and you need that. And but see, a lot of times pride gets in the way. That's another, you know, little human condition. You know, so I mean, like, sometimes you get sucked down that rabbit hole, that Kevin Samuels, Alanya Van Zandt, and all this stuff and stuff like that. And you know, sometimes you see where pride can take you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so if you go and tell somebody, say, hey, this is what's up, or have I, and then, oh, blah, 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 you know, some people like it this way, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's cool, but the man's giving you an opinion. You don't have to agree with it, you know, but you know, you're giving a traumatic response right now.
Right. Right.
You know, so it's like, you know, so then, you know, ain't nobody wants to go through that. And then you're putting up all the defenses to absorb this information, you know, that may not go against what you think is best. And that's just it. So, you know, and then you got the people who just, you know, that won't challenge you. Just, you know, like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool, yeah, you cool. Yeah, go ahead, wear that. Yeah, yeah. 2 twos are in, put that on, you know. So, you know, you got a lot of that stuff going on. I can go on for hours. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Your daughter, would you know to recognize the signs in your daughter if you saw that coming on now that you've experienced life?
Yeah, you know, and that's why I throw balance. Like when you say something don't feel right, you
Right.
know, if you know, and I've always tried to talk to, you know, and try to produce a comfortable, light, you know, where you can just be yourself. So this way, you know, I have what do you call it? I have a margin. I have a, you know, I know where this is where the default setting should be.
Right.
And so when it, you know, and it goes off to the left, when it's off balance, either too far to the left or the right, whatever, then it's like, oh, mama, you know, you good? So you try to create a safe space where you could talk, and you try to watch your tone, and you try to watch your tone and how, and listen more carefully, so you don't close that, you know, that dialogue you got with these people, and you want to keep their trust. Because, you know, and you want to help them, and you want to, you know, and show them as much love as you can, but you know, that's got to come with grace. You
Yeah.
know, you got to stop saying, okay, this ain't cool, but you know, I'm gonna tell me more about it, make me understand, sell it to me, blah blah. So you know, and I had a lot of help with my ex-wife, from my ex-wife on it. She was always, you know, on point. So I got to turn this AC on. Killing me, right?
You mentioned that I think you mentioned therapy. Is
Mhm.
therapy the only road that you have tried as far as your mental illness?
That's all I could afford. I mean, I know that was a lot of my, you know, I'm being a stereotypical man with this stuff. A lot of things that were like, bow, yo, dude, you need to talk to somebody smarter than you. I didn't have health insurance, whatever. And you work through it, and you have friends, you have resources to kind of help you out, or put it, or either polish up your veneer, you
Right.
know. So, and then by that time, you kind of get your balance back. And that's just it. So if you are very self-aware and you keep like a little mental catalog of where you're at and where you're going and stuff like that, that can be because you know all your milestones. It's like, okay, when I'm happiest, I'm here. When I'm here, but then, once it goes off, it's like how I said, I flipped out because it's like, oh, who are you? It's like, but then, it's like, okay, well, and that threw me off, but I was like, is it really worth it? You was happy as hell before that. You got a little frustrated with the door and not being able to get in. Maybe that's kind of added to it. Is this approach you got going on really? And if it happens, you identify it better. And so you can go and stop and, okay, I'm tilting this way, pens and needles and pens, a happy man. And then, all right, cool. And then, and then you can find some way to talk yourself into, okay, well, cool. I was a little heated. I'm glad it didn't because I could have lost my job. So let me look at the silver lining. I guess I'm cool. Yeah, I guess I'm cool. And so that's how I've worked it out. I would definitely benefit with somebody, but I got the feeling I'm gonna probably be able to tell him either what he's about to tell me.
Right. I think we always know that you just need somebody to reinforce different things. One of the things that we shared, and I'm talking about my brothers and I, we didn't have parents to go to. We were feeling away. And, that's a huge reason why I am where I am now. What about your parents? Was it something that you would be comfortable going to them with?
Well, to being completely honest, my mom's, and I love her dearly, and there's no buts about it. This kind of ties in the question when I told you I was the only child. Right. I think you can go feral if you live by yourself, right? Now, she retired a couple of years back, and she's got her friends, and she's at that age where, sad to say, a lot of friends are dying or what have you. Mm-hmm. It's not as mobile as what she used to be. So, your social cues kind of get a little, thrown off, and maybe not aware of how you're talking to people or the things you're saying to people, your tone and all those little inflections and little things that, so like, my mother and I, it got unpleasant talking to her from time to time because I would say, why are you yelling? What's going on? Why are you angry? And then she would say in an angry tone, I don't see why people are always telling them, I'm like, Mom, you're yelling now. And so like, I think it was like last summer, it was something where the tone was really crazy. And I was like, Mom, I didn't get on a plane, fly 2 hours, get to the airport 2 hours, get on a plane for, this broke down. I was traveling for 6 hours to get here, to only be here to leave tomorrow morning to argue, right. And then this is something that, well, you always arguing. Okay, but that means I got to de-escalate every time it goes. Because at that point, I didn't want to accuse her. I'm just trying to get her to understand how this is wrong and it's making me feel. Right. So, you got to walk that tightrope. This is Mom. I love her. There's that reverence already there. And then how can I say this to get the most advantageous, result, how can I get this outcome to be positive? So that was, really caused me to stop and say, I got to weigh this out. So you catch these triggers and you become more aware of what's going on around you, what energy you're putting out, and the energy, how you're receiving energy coming out. So you learn to protect yourself. And I didn't want to protect myself by being a complete asshole, because I am an asshole. But I didn't want to be, like, okay, well, nobody wants to fuck around with you, because that was how my father was. Right. Both my parents are alcoholics. And, Mom, she bust her ass. She worked, 12, 13, 18 hours a day to make sure I had a roof over my head, food, and my tummy and everything. It's the best mother I could ever ask for. Mm-hmm. And, but, and her having me so young in the time before welfare and probably the edge of civil rights was still new and everything. Right. She had all that stress as a single woman by herself, and then she met my father, and all of a sudden now she got to take care of my fat head. And so this is, she's probably maybe 19, 20 when she had me. And then it's like, I got to deal with this. And so, to escape that, you had alcohol. Yeah. And then my pops was married, when I was born. So I was the product of a piece of ass. Mom's a side chick. And, so I know he loved me, But, and this is part of my evolution. As you get a little older, yeah, you go through that part where you hear Public Enemy, you be like, yeah, you's a deadbeat dad, fuck you, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you gotta Pops always say this, you gotta play the cards you dealt. And he was married and chick was well-to-do. He had a lifestyle, and that was important to him, I guess. And, he did come by. I had more of a father than my other friends had. He was, stick his head in the door for 20 minutes, maybe a couple of nights out the week. And I appreciated that. And he would take me on places and, and help mom out whenever he could. But I didn't want to be that dude as a father, and I didn't want that type of boy from another stories. So he stayed in the Bible because, he had some crazy shit going on in his life. And then my mom's in the Bible. So, I watched them. So I had to insulate myself from that. I love you, mama. So, like, the house became a place for me to wash up and do my thing, but I had to get a job. I didn't have to get it, but I wanted to have my own money. I want to help out in the house. And I did this, and it worked over here. We met, and then just gradually just trying to make it to the next level. So mom was always hustling, and she self-medicated to deal with this shit. Dad did that to escape. He was a cool party dude. Everybody loved him when he had a little something up in him. But I didn't want to be that person that, I needed the super serum in order to become, to just deal with life.
Yeah.
So, that wasn't really an outlet. But then, like me and D, we go to work together, come back together, hang out together on the weekend, whatever. And you just start talking because, you evolve as a man. So, back it was, I'm chasing these chicks, I need to make some paper. And it's like, I need to make these moves, So then, that whole evolution, because your boy or your girl is going to tell you exactly where you at, you're going to hear some truths. Right. And then, my rest of my crew was like that too. So, we kept it 100% and unvarnished for each other. And that energy was reciprocal, So, we goofed around, played, and had a good time and everything. But, at the end of the day, here's where we at.
That is, in all the conversations that we've had, I don't think you've never shared some of that. So thank you for that. The addiction thing, we're all addicted to something. I always say that, alcohol, drugs, Entenmann's cakes, that's mine. It's so hard for me to listen to you and brothers and friends talk about these things that they had to deal with in life, because how do you move on from an addictive, in a situation that involved addiction? We did it. My daddy was alcohol and drugs later, and different things like that. I just think that it's so hard for men that are addicted to raise men.
Yeah.
And that's where the complications come in. So thank you for sharing that, Chef, because that's going to help somebody. That'll tie into this next little question. Think back to, say, 18 or 19, and if you were in that space where you felt you were imbalanced, what would you tell somebody now at that age to do? How would they engage someone to get help?
That I don't think there's nothing I can really latch on to say that I have the clarity I have now. Right. Because, you're trying to get it, you're trying to figure out who you are. Now, I'm glad you asked that, right? Now, the teens are hard for both men and women, right? But we have two different curriculums. A man has to define himself. So I got to make some money. I got to get my game so I get a girl. I got to, and you got all these things. I got to figure out where I'm going. So I got to make myself. Right. So you got too many. So back when we was growing up, crack was new. Right. So, niggas that had their life together, had a W-2 and a tax return, would convince that girl to go get that tax, give the income tax check.
Yeah.
Let me flip this. Boom. Everybody walk around beepers. They're trying to, they encourage the bad boy shit. It's like, yeah, but I'm hustling, I in the street. Nigga, you work in the middle. Stop it. Yeah, but still, it's that type of stuff. And so you got those things that you're fighting against because you're constantly trying to fit in whatever lane you think you need to be in. Now, I was always my own person, because I was a corny dude. I stayed a corny dude, and I embraced my corniness because, like, my crew thought the same, because my friends, and
Right.
we were always 100% with each other, so they accept me, so I'm good. And at the same time, I was always around cool people, because it's back in it was before the music industry really kicked off. You knew all these people when they were coming up and stuff. So I'm always around cool people doing cool things. So it was nothing to stop saying, dude, you're being an asshole. And then so and so you're trying to figure out, okay, well, how can I use this opportunity to get to the next opportunity? Where do I need to be? Do I need to tune this up? Do I need to be a love man? Do I need to be a thug? Should I punch a cop? Should I go and try to fuck a celebrity? You're trying to figure all this stuff out. So I don't know how, because you make a change there in the past, all of a sudden, something it takes away something in the future. So I
Right.
don't know what those triggers are, but it's all the advice that my pops ever gave me was straight up wisdom. You
Mhm.
said something like we talk about the addicts, to me, anybody with a testimony, you have value. You can lead. Yeah, you have. So whether you say, hey, listen, I was a whore, I was a drug addict, I did this, I was dude, that was like, Knuckles John,
Right.
his knuckle game was crazy. But then you find out, this dude was addicted. He was sucking dick for, just to, keep his head on level.
Right.
It's like, oh my God. But if somebody can hear that, be like, wow, because it's like, matter of fact, this is how I graduated from college. I forgot what I forgot what class it was, but I just talked about how we need to be lied to.
Right.
Like look at what's that? Nancy Reagan. Just say no.
Right.
This woman probably couldn't tell oregano from weed.
Right.
But people, she has no testimony. I want to talk to the dude, nodding off from heroin. Yo,
Yeah.
let me tell you how, and then, that's the dude who said, wow, dude, how this happened? I had it all, man,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And that has so much more value because, at some point, hoping these people say, I'm gonna either write a book or, I'm gonna have, sessions to help people like you doing. And so going back to answer your question, I don't know what and I wrestle with that. What advice would I give my younger self? I would have got a little bit more focused on my career.
Right.
Excuse me. And, I had my fun in the music industry, but I'm glad I got a chance to see it for it's like, you can't, this can't be sustained. So that, helped me choose the career path I got. I didn't want any kids, but I got my daughter and she's an awesome part of my life and I love her dearly and I'm glad she's here. And life wouldn't be the same without her. And that's just it. I mean, all the experiences that I've had have either prepared me for something or either moved me in a direction that I was able to learn from and thrive in.
Yeah. Wow. I don't think that, I have to ask myself that question sometime. What would I tell myself as I was younger, other than
But
more confidence in yourself? But one of the things that, and like I said, we've known each other for years, but I've never shared with anyone until after I had my breakdown and then started this platform, some of the things that I've gone through. And I still have not shared even a quarter of what I've gone through even my best friends don't know some of my story. How do you think you can show up better for your friends if they have a mental illness? Because now you and I have shared more in the past, I want to say the past
uh,
4 years or so. So
yeah,
you know my story, and you
uh,
never treated me different. And even when you would invite me places and my social anxiety kicked in and I couldn't do it. And even when I came to Greenville, you embraced that. You never made me feel bad for not being able to show up. How can we be better friends if we know that they are living with
one of
these
my
mental?
favorite one of my favorite groups, Intro. Remember them?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Intro. They have this one song called I think I'll Never Fall in Love Again, something like that. And then there's this one verse that says, "Love isn't love unless you give it away."
Right.
And also my very first girlfriend, like, just walking around broke as hell. And then I say, I think when Sting had that song, if you love someone, set them free. So and I was like, what does that mean? She was like one of the real heavy duty Prince fans, real smart. And everything. She's an awesome chick, man. But she was like, no, if you love something, let it go free. Give it its freedom to be what it's gonna be. And if it comes back, it was meant, it is what it is. So I mean, like a lot of times we'll talk a lot of bullshit about love and blah, 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 but it's giving out condition. This is how I understand it. Now, you talk about the social anxiety. I had the social anxieties too. And that's why, I would say crazy shit or, whatever, because if I was able to make somebody laugh, I can connect. And that was my tool, And then like, I remember it was maybe 11th, 12th grade, whatever. I had this speech teacher, looked like Elizabeth Taylor. She's a beautiful woman, but she had, big shoe, little shoe thing happening, one foot or whatever. Man, but, and she had a hair and always makeup was incredible. And she would always make me get up, and I didn't want to talk because I never liked attention. I was like, oh, she didn't talk. And then so and it happens to be most of the women, my leaders that I've learned most from happen to be women. And because these weren't, women that try, hey, I can stand up and speak. No, these are people who had to get to where they are by eating shit and learning how to play this. And then, and you can just feel that wisdom and respect come out of them. So she says, Percy, listen, when you're in there, stop with these one-liners and shit like that. Make sure they understand what the fuck you're trying to say. Nobody in there is any smarter than you. This guy, all he knows is finance. This guy, all he knows is blah, blah, and this the guy's going to sign the check. You have to sell your shit. Okay, cool. And then, and you keep playing that in your head because she's telling you, you listen with your ears and keep your emotions. That's one way. So that's one way you can absorb feedback if it's genuine feedback. And, then you can stop and say, okay, but do I need to change this? And this, do I need to get rid of this? Do I need to, not to say change who you are, but some of the stuff you hear, you can stop and say, you know what? That's the reason why these people treat me this way. Like I was telling you about my moms, if you're talking to me mad aggressively, then you're stressing me out. Right. And then my stress is stressing you out and you're feeling threatened. And then I said something that offended you, you're feeding back the poison we're trying to wash away. You're feeding into the poison. And so a lot of that stuff is trauma that is self-perpetuating trauma because we use trauma to deal with trauma. And then we don't get out of the system that we could actually heal because we only look at heal like, okay, well, I have broken heart. I'm over that and I've healed. No, it's being able to identify your triggers and keep that balance. So when you got a code switch, it comes naturally, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not even thinking about it. And I'm not bothered by it. It's cool. And then I'm going to use my skills. I'm going to sell me so I can be more of me. So that trade-off ain't, ain't night and day. And you coming in there talking like, hi, how are you? My name is Thurston Howard. So it's like, yo, how you doing? I'm Percy Jackson, blah, blah, what's up? I don't have to suppress my accent. I tone down my language or whatever. But and then you talk to them where they at. So you have to listen to people where they're at. Listen without bias, listen without, listen to hear, basically.
Right.
And when you talk, when you ask better questions, you get better data. Talking, so, and it's, I think one of the best things in the world to be a student life. So instead of me, you telling me like, we joke about this all the time, like, oh, you're depressed? Just be happy. It's like, you Nancy Reagan to me, right? Just say no to drugs. What the fuck are you talking about? And so
skip your way to better mental health. Skip away.
Yeah, so happy? I'm good. Peace. And it's stupid. But then, just a lot of people want to be heard. And then if you're listening and they genuinely feel you're listening, that bond will either evolve or go in a direction where it's like, hey, I didn't know you was make me understand what you're going through, blah, blah, whatever. If you don't mind talking, it's like, blah, blah, blah. And then that person might really go, I really need to say that. And then got that off my chest. And that's cool. And we don't do a lot of that.
Yeah, we need to do more.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of these problems come from.
Right.
So, this person doesn't, like one thing that really annoys me, and I'm apologize to your audience, the folks that, label themselves, he, she, them, she, blah, blah, blah. At some point, this is going to go in the direction of me too. And no disrespect to your audience at all. I love all the God's children, be who the fuck you are. And that's what I'll die for. But somebody being who they are. But, it's like when people Where the fuck was I going with this point? I guess the coffee didn't kick in yet. Oh,
I need to share my coffee with you.
oh man, you got that stuff. You got that stuff that comes from Bolivia, and it's white.
Exactly. You know my
That's
coffee
cool.
game is strong.
That's not coffee. That's the cocaine. But it's I forgot where I was going with the point. But you have to listen to. You can win more people over. Everybody wants to put their opinion out there and give you something that they've heard. But that's sometimes we do it, just keep the conversation going. But if you can get somebody talking and saying, hey, this is the way I feel, dude, I'm not a qualified professional, but maybe I can send you some, things I found about anxiety, blah, blah, because now, you're developing a rapport. It's like, okay, yeah, we're talking to each other. This person genuinely sounds like they're interested in my health and well-being. I appreciate you being here,
And that's
But,
amazing. That's what happens. That needs to happen more, especially with men. If someone tells you that they're struggling, or if you see that they're struggling, say, well, listen, no judgment, no nothing, whatever, but here's some information. Here's a site, here's a website. Check this out. Nothing, we're not going to attack your manhood. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to, yeah, man, I want you to get better. And I think that more men should do,
I'm very pessimistic about it.
I know, and I am too.
It's because I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Because we embrace a lot of shit that's killing us.
Yeah.
We embrace violence. We embrace a whole lot of antisocial type shit, and then that's why I use that phrase. We lower the bar of mediocrity. Well, not everybody want to listen to Public Enemy or I'm cool with that. But we don't do things that nourish healthy relationships.
Right.
Chicks love a bad dude, right? The bad behavior gets rewarded. Now, seem like we respect the dude who got out of jail versus the dude who's now the older dudes. We used to, that dude, he come home every day. And as soon as he come out, he got the kid on the bike. He's doing that. That's a real father. We give him the props, stuff like that. But still, the dude that's like, the action man, the thug, the playboy, we embrace that. So both men and women, we contribute to our own downfall. So the corny dude, the dude who's, pushing the garbage truck, probably making $62K a year, whatever, doing his thing, he don't get that shine. He's not sexy. He's not, a hero. So, we feed into the negative stuff. So being positive is, girl, your hair looks nice. So, it's nice Jordans, whatever, And that might be what's needed. But you got to talk to people where they at, So it might work with John, but it may not work for Jimmy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have to, I want to say we have to keep pushing, but, sometimes you can't, like you said, you get pessimistic, you get disgruntled.
But you
I'm
get
going to ask you two more questions, and one is not on what I gave you. One of the things that bugs me is the way women approach the men in their life as far as their feelings and emotions are concerned. Just like you were just talking about the bad boy. I read something yesterday, that some lady was talking about bus drivers. She can't be with a bus driver or something like that.
Yeah.
So you got bus drivers and you got maintenance men and all of these things being men, taking care of their families, taking care of the community. And we look down on that.
Mm.
So, and I have always been the person that I want to know how you feel. I want to know how you grew up. That's just me. What would you say to women or a woman, as far as approaching a man about those situations?
Any situation, I would always tell a woman, go out and talk to we all got men in our lives, right?
Right.
Matter of fact, speaking of psychology, it's a theory that I've read about, that how men and women, well, number one, we're different, how we process information. It's called waffles and spaghetti. Have you heard that phrase come up?
No. Mm-mm.
Waffles, compartmentalized, butter, the syrup, and everything stays in this little segregated area. Spaghetti is everything put together.
Right.
Because you filter your emotion, your logic through your emotions, there are no real boundaries with the problem. So one problem bleeds off to the next one. So now all of a sudden, like you in a burning building, fire truck pulls up, they put the ladder up there, and the guy comes up, Ku Klux Klan tattoo. Fuck that nigga. I said, oh shit. Oh, hold on. We got to get out of here alive, so that would be, the logical way of thinking. And that's just it. So if you know what side of your brain is controlling your thoughts, that's an advantage on you. And men, we are very logical. Now, I have a tendency of straying off. Hit me off with the question again. What advice would I give a woman in
approaching the men in them and the men in their lives, if they are living with a mental illness?
How they approach the men and women? All right, and this because I thought you said men approaching men like, hey, in a amorous type fashion. All right, cool. It's really hard because see, like, feeding what I said about men and women different. Sometimes it's hard for some men to take suggestions, advice, or whatever from women. And sometimes the dynamic of that relationship may prohibit clear communication between subject A and subject B. So, you got that going on. So that's a really hard thing. At best, if she's like, hey, listen, dude is bugging, maybe it's like, hey, John, how you doing? I'm sorry for calling you this late, man, but I think, you need to talk to the person, blah, blah. What's wrong, and hopefully that might be something that don't start any drama between folks, but it's really hard. And you have to be emotionally receptive to, and see, we're not taught how to communicate.
Right.
We kind of do shit based on, and I was kind of alluding to that with my other rant, but it's like, so we'll address a situation based on our level of understanding, say how we feel, react on how we've been made to feel, and our outcomes won't be what we needed to be for that circumstance.
Right.
So now you said something, well, yeah, you always shut me down, blah, blah, and it's like, well, hold on, you supposed to be talking to him about him, but now it's about you. Oh, you always shut me down, blah, blah, blah. So now he's got the defense up, like, oh shit, I'm going through my bullshit. Now you come me with your bullshit. So it's like, oh, fuck all this shit, so he go back to playing Xbox and just being, dealing with the problem as best he could. So, I mean, it goes both ways before your female audience, say, fuck this nigga. It's, it goes both ways. And so, hopefully at some point in your relationship, you have that conversational path to, have that dialogue about, some stuff that might be a little sensitive, something, and you have the skills to phrase that question or a little nugget of information in a way that he's going to be receptive to it, so
that's difficult too.
It's very difficult, man, because like I said, we're not taught how to communicate.
Right.
So I mean, a lot of people, and it's like, and a lot of us aren't social. One thing I'm really fearful for women right now is these incels. And see, because like, I won't get into the political side of that, but you see that this anti-woman thing is popular.
It's deep. It's deep.
Yeah, it's deep, and especially with I'm with this abortion shit. Yeah, I want to flip over, burn cars and shit, man. It's crazy. And so you got these dudes that probably were never socialized around women, that don't know how to talk to women, that use this biblical bullshit and everything else and political power to make women's lives that much more, difficult.
Yeah.
And it's uninformed. It does nothing for society. And, so these dudes, they don't know how to, hey, how you doing? My name is Percy, whatever. But, I saw you reading this book. I watch your videos or subscribe to your book, and get a conversation going. They don't have those skills. So they get frustrated. And it's like, well, I'm a man. And, I wear a suit and I buy flowers. And why don't these bitches love me? And so they find other assholes. And now you got like these packs of these incels, and they're dangerous,
And they start a podcast and shit on women.
Exactly. They say mean things about women. They get, it's so that scares me about the future and stuff like that. And that's outside of just our blackness. We got some black incels in there too.
Yeah.
But it's the men, because I had older dudes that would tell me, nah, that ain't how you talk to them, man. You can't be doing this about. And that goes a long way, because now you're like, okay, cool, And now that you're older enough to understand it, use your social skills, kick it to the young cats, because now, I mean, I appreciate dude call me Unc and everything like that. But like, I try not to be preachy, I try to listen and everything like that, because, when you putting your life together, I remember all those little breadcrumbs that my peeps would leave out for me, and you hope that you
Right.
can give some of that back to the next generation, so empathy, yeah, it takes a lot of empathy.
Yeah, they should have classes, because some of us are too empathetic and some of us are not empathetic enough. So, but
It
maybe
goes to
that-
the balance.
yeah,
That's the balance thing.
yeah,
You
I-
got to know your triggers.
yeah. I like. I keep going back to the balance. I like that, Percy. I'm gonna write it down. Oh no, we need a T-shirt. We need a T-shirt.
Share with others, yeah.
Okay, the last question. What nugget would you like to leave for brothers that are listening?
Keep your balance, man. Keep your balance and always seek that balance, man. Everybody, everybody who's in my life, I always think of them as people who I aspire to be like, or they have some traits that's like, yo, this is why I love these people, or this is why they have value. And it's nothing wrong with even having a transactional relationship person or hang out. I can't stand him, but he's real good at this. I'm learning how to be, and that's cool. And you have to keep that balance with these, but always be right, because all these relationships will tell you a lot about yourself, why you're friends with these people, what you're getting out of it, and then how you respond and how you communicate with these things. Now, like I said, I'm a big proponent of mental health, folks that are, psychiatrists and shrinks, counselors, all that. I encourage that. Even if your situation requires medication, you're getting that help. And then, like, the trick is, it's like, and I get, apologize advanced, religious friends. I hate when they give you a half-ass answer. You need Jesus.
Right.
Show me the directions. You know what? We just sit up and pray. And no, I'm having, yeah, but it will. No, talk to somebody smarter than you, saying, hey, listen, you know what? Maybe you're the other Black dude in the building. Is this guy ever seen you before? Cool. He's never seen you before. And if you talk to him, which I did talk to him, you realize he didn't come from a place of malice. He's never seen you before in the building. And, you're only one of two Black people in a very white company. I learned my trigger. I didn't respond. I responded instead of reacting.
Right.
So, you learn those types of things. And then, as you alluded to, with the sharing too much, I'm only going to give what I can afford to lose.
Right.
And you have to have a hard set boundary on that balance. Because, say, if I go, too far to the right, I'm gonna flip over. If I go too far, I'm gonna flip over. Give a little bit and see how they respond to it. So, hey, if there's somebody who seems like they're giving me back, as much as I put into it, that's it. That's your, because then all of a sudden, hey, why you sit down? Well, I co-signed for the car. He called me a bitch, and then we don't talk no more. Oh, Lord, and then it's, then, you feeling stupid. You don't want to tell anybody. So that loop, you're getting that little fucked up loop in your head, and you don't get it. Now you're bitter. And then there's other traumatic, drama-filled little chain events going on in your head. So you got to keep balance and always seek balance. If a person isn't giving you back what you're putting into it, give yourself some distance.
Right.
Don't get mad because, you can't make a person, treat you better or whatever. They have to do it on their own. But you're like, hey, okay, cool. I didn't spit in your water today. Okay, cool. That's nice and everything. But, it should come naturally, everything. And when you find yourself, okay, well, cool. As we were talking before, when you have to code switch, I would rather work on my personality so it's enough to make a person be interested in me, whereas I have a little more social equity to that person. I could be a little bit more myself. So I'm not stressed out, feeling like a cat in a room full of dogs trying to survive. So, it's all those little things. I mean, even with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, if you don't feel like you're getting as much as what you're putting into it, it's like, we need to talk about, I ain't gonna get you for so far, but you're gonna notice when you start pulling back, because now the balance has been broken.
Right.
And that's just it. And to me, it's just, if somebody can show you where those markers are, or how to put those markers down, that's where the counseling comes in help. Because, some people, like family events can be traumatic.
Right.
you know,
yeah.
and yeah. So, I mean, you got to learn how to deal with these things.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've had my ways of dealing with those things and they've been effective for me. But I can't pass that off as advice to somebody else. You'd be like, yo, family, they just disowned me. What happened? Oh, you know, I brought bacon to the bar mitzvah. You fucked up, Black, you know. I can do it, but you can't, you know. Or either the white dude said, nigga. Like, he said it was cool. Fuck, like, you know, he lost his job as a YouTube video, trending YouTube video. So, but you know, you got to seek balance, man.
Yeah.
And that's just it. So, and then the balance, and this is why I'm not shitting on Jesus at all, but it's just like, you know, you got to find those markers. You know, somebody help you identify. This is my these are my triggers. This is, you know, I need to process this differently. Or either I believe I need it because this makes sense. This man wasn't trying to be racist. He was just protecting the place we work. So, you know, okay, yeah, but still, am I going to let go of this? Am I going to hold on to it and make this part of my personality and block my blessing?
Yeah. And I would have been the person with the Vaseline acting up, but you know, that's why I got friends like you.
I'm blessed for all of that reason, but sometimes you got to kick somebody's ass.
Yeah.
As my man Omar said, you know, Avon Barksdale, got to send a message.
Got to send a message. Oh,
Got to send a message, yeah. So yeah, and sometimes you have to, you know, put on the Al Sharpton sweatsuit, but they see you put their hair in a ponytail, a Vaseline,
It's
take
on.
off your earrings.
it's on. It's
There you go.
on.
She from Brooklyn, right? Yeah. We can talk about this. This is no reason for us to escalate the fisticuffs.
I want to thank you so much. I know I keep saying it, but I know for a fact that the things that you shared tonight are going to help somebody because you are so open and honest, and you're always open and honest. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you always supporting me in
So, yeah, I
everything.
keep it.
Um,
I got a bad memory. I keep it. Keep it.
you're a great guy. You really, really are a great guy.
Thank you.
And I thank you for, and this was, I want everybody to know that this is spur of the moment. We were having a conversation and you were like, I'm down. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you for
whenever.
open-
Yeah, I mean, whenever
Anything?
you need. I'm sorry, I'm stepping over your lines.
No, go ahead.
Whenever you need me, mommy, I love doing this. See, I never remember whose podcast I'm on, but you know, I'm talking the same shit, you know.
But that's
So
what
yeah,
I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna say, because I'm gonna have you back because one of the main things that we have in common is our love of food and cooking.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, you see these bat wings, right? Yeah.
Look, I got them. Baking, I always say baking is my therapy. So I'm gonna definitely have you on again so we can talk about that. Thank you again, Chef.
You'll find out what I don't know about food when you start talking bacon. That's science.
Listen, no, you look, you kick ass in the kitchen. You do things that I don't
That's
know.
because I can hide my mistakes. You can't do that with bacon is science. And that man says 1 teaspoon, you need 1 teaspoon in there. Otherwise, you got something that you know make people sick. So, yeah. See me, I can go put a little extra hot sauce on there and be like, oh, this is delicious. Or you know.
Well, whatever you decide to do, we're gonna have you back. Thank you again.
Yeah, we gotta get the band back together, man. I'm gonna try to set something with me, bro. We can hang out, you can bring some of your folks up in there. We can get thrown out of the lobby again.
And don't come through here and not say hi again.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I went to Kevin's what do you call Kevin's retirement party.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was up there, but you know, like whatever, just in and I was just back out because the weekend. But yeah, and that's it. But I'm trying to get some more time just to get up there and just chill for a minute. Now that I have a real job, you know, some vacation days and just gradually get up there and gradually come on back.
Well, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Keep being you.
Thank you. Consider me a friend of the show, man. So you know, whenever I say, you know, Bruce, you got a minute? Yeah, there you go. Come on.
That's right. We're gonna have you back. I'm definitely gonna have you back.
All right.
Thank you for your friendship for all these years.
Thank you for your friendship, Mama. Love the shit out of you. And we gotta get the band back up.
Okay.
All right, Mama.
Hang on, don't leave. He did leave. Thank you for supporting me, guys. Thank you for listening. I've received some wonderful comments, some wonderful feedback. If you don't already, look me up, Diva with Depression. You can follow me, subscribe to my website and to the podcast. Listen, share. Like I said, it's Men's Health Awareness Month. Share these nuggets because you may just save a life. Thank you to Illumination Media and Technology for all of their work on my show. I appreciate it. You guys stay well, find some peace, and always remember that you're a superhero. Take care. Bye.